Solomon Elliot Ash was born in Warsaw, Poland in 1907 to a Polish Jewish family. A renowned social scientist, Ash is most famous for his line study. Carrie Patterson described it like this. In the line study, he drew 3 lines of different lengths. He then drew a 4th line that was exactly the same length as the 2nd line. And he asked a group of people seated around a table, which line is the 4th most like? 1, 2, or 3? Obviously, it was the same as the 2nd line. Anyone could tell. But then something really weird happened. The first person suggested that the line in question was the same as the first line. What a fool! Maybe this person had a vision problem? And then the second person said the same thing. What? How could 2 people be that wrong? Of course, the answer to this question is now part of social science history. They were both dupes who worked for Dr. Ash. They purposefully gave the wrong answer to see if they could get a genuine subject to agree with them. To help nudge the findings, Dr. Ash had a total of 8 people, all dupes, giving the same wrong answer. Then the 9th person, the only actual test subject, would be asked the question. As you might suspect, nearly 3/4 of the subject gave the same wrong answer. When they were interviewed after the study was completed, all the subjects said that they knew they had given the wrong answer, but they didn't want to go against the crowd.
Thank you, Louise. 9 years and 1 month ago, we had a parade from the Good Shepherd building where we had been meeting for a few years to this building which we had bought and renovated and smudged and prepared for our residency here. It was such a great day. It was joyous. It was sunny. We sang around the building. It was such a good time. And soon we had things happening in this building instead of the other building or in people's homes where we had been congregating for a while. And one of my favorite days was a few weeks into this building era when we had to put a sign out here in the Great Hall that said, if you're here for this event, go this way to this room number. If you're here for this event, go this way. And if you're here for the other event, go here. We had 3 different things happening all at once in the building, and it was glorious. I actually was so thrilled about it that I took a picture of the sign and put that on the church Facebook page. Now we have a real marketing person who would explain to me whether that was a good idea or not. But at the time, it felt like a good idea. It was super fun. And we were relatively active in lots of ways. And we do things outside the walls, of course, and we do things inside the walls. And then pandemic came, and we all kind of shrank a little. Speaking only for myself, I am hesitant to go and do things in public still. Part of that is that I'm an introvert. Part of that is I just gotten used to not doing anything. We have, where I think the congregation is now a little hesitant to schedule 2 things in the same month, much less the same day. It's human nature to feel fear or to predict scarcity. It might be just animal nature to do that, to notice if there are enough seeds in the burrow, to notice if there are enough rabbits in the field. We heard a story about, are there enough lollipops today? And how much Sturm and Drang there was about that. People are really concerned about, will there be enough? Will there be enough for me? Will there be enough for my family, for those I love? These are all natural, normal experiences to have. And those who have some power those who are the capitalist or consumerist or use political leverage capitalize on this and use it against us. They demonstrate that there's scarcity in the world and that only them can save you. You need to buy my product. You need to vote for me to take care of this scarcity, which I've now convinced you have. Scarcity is a long history in Western culture. But the church, the Spirit, insists there is in fact abundance. There is enough, particularly if we share. But there is enough. There is abundance in the world, and we can do good things. We don't have to be worried about those people taking from us. Now, churches and congregations and synagogues and temples and fellowships are made of human beings, so we're not always consistent in our messaging. We're not always consistent in our actions. Over the last 25 years, I have been on the board of one UU church, and I have served 5 more as a minister. And in the majority of those congregations, I heard at least one person, usually several, say, "Oh, scarcity. We can't schedule a fundraiser the same time we're having a stewardship campaign. It'll confuse people. We'll have less money in both situations. We can't schedule a capital campaign the same time we're having a fundraiser. It's going to ruin both of them. We can't raise money for that justice issue because we're doing our stewardship right now and we don't want to confuse people." It's human. 4 of those 6 congregations at least discussed the possibility that in fact generosity might breed generosity, and if we do 2 things at once, that both of them might be increased. Because while I'm given to one, I may as well give to another. Because giving to one makes me feel good, so I'll give to the other. 3 of the 4 congregations did follow through and do those things, and all 3 were successful. Now, some of that is because boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Goethe sort of was the inspiration for that, but John Anster actually wrote, "What you can do or dream you can, begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it." So maybe discuss the concerns and then boldly move forward. I almost did say the Star Trek thing, but I'm trying to be serious here. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. Do the thing. See if it works. And some of that is due to religion and spirituality and courage and cooperation. As we heard in our opening words from Laurel Sheridan, join hands and hearts in common endeavor, and there will be no limit to what we can achieve together. In general, I think religion offers a worthy answer to capitalism's cries of scarcity. And in general, we UUs are pretty good at embodying abundance. Except when it comes to power or authority. So we heard Louise talk about Solomon Ash's line study. He drew 3 lines and then drew a 4th line and asked people whether the 4th line was closest in length to the 1st, 2nd, or 3rd. It was plain that the 2nd line was the right answer. But 8 people in a row said, "Well, the 1st line." And the 9th person, the actual test subject, when asked, after hearing 8 people say the wrong answer, gave the wrong answer 3/4 of the time. Since then, other studies have shown that a strong majority of human beings prefer to go along with the crowd. Most people don't want to be considered weird. Well, in this room and in the first Zuumitarian Zoom online, there are a lot of us who would probably say, "I don't know what these people are seeing. It's the 2nd line." We may or may not be happy with the word weird when applied to us, but we are willing to say, you know what? I do not believe that the universe works the way you say it does, or the way you're trying to peddle me. As in many instances in the world, our greatest strength can sometimes be our greatest shortcoming, so it's not surprising that our folks who are coming in our doors, who are maybe hardwired to mistrust folks who have too much authority, are conditioned to believe that we ourselves have too little power, and we find it hard to imagine there's enough power for everyone. There is scarcity. Now, I'll present some evidence for this. There's some confusion in the roles which was seen in the recent ministerial evaluation. First of all, thanks to everyone who filled out those evaluations. Those forms were kind of long, and we really appreciate all the work you did. Thanks to those who sent it out, the board, the committee on ministry, who are doing the interpretation of these results. That was a big effort, and we are very grateful for your participation. As usual, I've been in professional ministry 20 years now, and yes, there are some things I can improve on, and for the most part, there's wide diversity. These folks hate the thing that these folks adore. The very things that trouble these people are the thing that these other people come here expressly to experience. Aside from the glorious diversity of UU congregations and opinions, there was a consistent issue that did come up a lot. Over 10% of the people who submitted evaluations pointed to at least one question and wrote something like, isn't that the job of the committee to do, not the minister? Or doesn't the office staff do that, not the minister? So here's the thing. The Unitarian Universalist Ministers Association created that evaluation form, and it assumes a nuanced understanding of shared ministry. By which I mean many UU ministers have authority issues too, and so they did not explain very well that ministers and congregations share the power and responsibility of most congregational work. So in this context, when a question said, yes, the minister leads this thing, it does not mean has all power over. It means works together to support, guide, and occasionally have responsibility for a particular aspect of ministry. Now, the good news in all this is that we do share ministry among us. We have many talented lay leaders, committed congregants, a competent minister, and creative humans throughout our congregational community. We don't have a scarcity of membership, of leadership, of talent. We have an abundance. And the rest of this service will celebrate the abundance of leaders that we have. Going to commission some of our teams. We won't get to everyone. There are many, many things that go on in this congregation. All teams, all work is valuable. Here are some that we want to lift up in particular. The Board of Trustees. We thank you for keeping sight of the big picture, withholding our vision, honoring our past, and guiding us toward the future. I probably should have invited the board expressly for this. Some of them are out doing other things. If you're in the room and a board member, might be, I know Jeremiah, Bill, our president, Gail's back in the back. Would you all stand, rise up? Florence, thank you. Let the congregation say thank you to these folks. There are the directors of religious education and mindfulness, the dream team, those of us who step forward to teach our children. We thank you for caring for our children and youth, amplifying the teaching we do at home, extending it with stories and games and activities, with Unitarian Universalist rituals, and the lived experience of being seen and appreciated for being exactly who we are. What a gift to give to children. Thank you for doing that. The Care Committee. Again, special thanks to Lois Holm and Mary Hagan for their amazing leadership on the care committee for years and years. They have stepped down as co-chairs. Wendy Lohman is now our official chair of the care committee. Helping Wendy in her shared ministry is another half dozen folks on the care committee and several dozen care committee helpers who do great work. Thank you all for the many ways you demonstrate care, assistance, and attention for all of us in this congregational community. From birthday cards to hospital visits, from casserole dinners to simple phone calls checking in. You demonstrate compassionate care, and we appreciate that. We are deeply grateful for our caring folk. The task force to defeat the deficit. Thank you for helping to create both a short-term increase and a long-term sustainable change in our congregational culture to keep the congregation thriving for at least another 70 years. Thank you. To the sound techs and Zoom hosts, it is hard to overstate how important it is to have a working sound system and a safe, easy means for participating in services over the internet. You talk a lot about inclusion. Your efforts actually demonstrate that commitment every Sunday. Thank you for this work. The OWL teachers who are actually teaching OWL down the hallway. OWL stands for Our Whole Lives. It is a sexuality education program co-developed by our UUA and the UCC, United Church of Christ folks. Sexuality education is always important in a culture that both over-sexualizes children and represses healthy sexuality in so many other ways. Teaching scientifically accurate, fully inclusive, relationship-centered sexuality education is a tremendous gift to the students, to their parents, and to their eventual partners. Many thanks to our trained OWL leaders down the hall. The Peace and Social Justice Committee, thank you for the ways you help us learn about opportunities to participate in furthering justice in our city, in our state, and in our world. Thank you for educating us, rallying us, and leading us in the good fight. And to all the other volunteers who help make the congregation a community, making coffee and cookies, shoveling snow, greeting us on Sunday morning, keeping the financial accounts legal and sustainable. To everyone else who does the good work of this congregation, thank you so very much. It is not that these people have all the power and authority and we don't have any. It does not mean now that we've said thank you to them, we've done our part, and they have to do all the work from now on. Our lay leaders are folks who are willing to do a little extra work in order to synergistically make a committee or group or the whole congregation more than the sum of its parts. Everyone here, please rise in body or spirit. Yes, please rise in body or spirits. I was afraid that...
It's all spirit.
Yeah, that could be, right? Do you, the members and friends of the First Unitarian Church of South Bend, affirm these leaders as volunteers who need your support, your participation, your appreciation, as well as your caring and concern? If so, say we do. And do you, participants in this service today, promise you will at least attempt to hold in mind the possibility that there is real abundance in the world and will seek to co-create that abundance when given a chance? If so, say, I will. I will. Fabulous. Please be seated. So may we be. And amen. Ashe. Hoorah.